My family originally came to this area following the railroad. Half of my family were farmers, the other half were merchants.
Basically, the family business was in the cotton and farming.
Farming. We were all farmers.
They were farmers. They farmed cotton, corn. Also, my dad told me about an uncle or two that made corn by the gallons. They were moonshiners.
I guess my grandparents on my mother's side were railroad people, both of them. He was kind of a hard-drinking moonshiner guy, and she was a nice, non-drinking, church-going woman.
My father was in the logging and timber cutting business.
The original settler had a grist mill.
My family came to this town because of my father was a research scientist at the Auburn Agricultural Experimental Station.
And my family moved here right after World War II. My father was also a physician.
My dad's family was brought here, but he was recruited by a medical doctor to be a dentist in a local hospital that they was building.
My stepfather came as a football coach.
I married a local girl whose father was a ship's captain on the banana boats for United Fruit.
My father moved to Red Bay to sell Chevrolet cars.
Early on, my dad was a jail keeper here in Ashland, and we actually lived in the jailhouse. My mom was cook for the inmates.
My grandmother, her father was a sword swallower, and her uncle blew fire. They were in a circus out of Opp, Alabama, and the train wrecked out in Elmore. And while waiting on the train to be fixed, they found work here in the area and ended up never leaving. It's hard to believe, but it's true.
My dad worked at the dairy and at that time delivered milk to the houses. I would carry the bottles of milk up, set it on the front porch.
I was raised on a farm, did all kind of farm work, from milking cows to plowing a mule.
My favorite job on the farm was to stack peanuts. I guess one of the reasons you like to stack peanuts was because you had peanuts all day long to eat.
Knew right away that I did not want to farm, wanted to get out of that.
One year we actually had an acre of okra. So it was every morning at 5 a.m. picking okra.
I worked down at Bob's IGA as I took out groceries for people.
I started my first job as a lifeguard at the Red Bay City Pool.
My first job was mowing grass in the neighborhood as just a kid.
My first job was an usher at a theater.
My first job in life was that was meaningful was a paper boy.
My first job was as a photographer's model.
At a communications company, I started as a directory assistance operator.
My first job was a roller skating rink referee.
I was a doctor in China. That's my first job.
A grave digger and a grass cutter at the cemetery that my family owned.
I helped my father when I was growing up, and he painted around the city, and he also opened and closed graves for the local funeral home.
I really had an affinity for embalming people. I was extremely good at it.
Steel bathtubs hanging on a rack, and me and this big black dude, we had to take them off and put them on this other rack. And I made it about 3 hours and just walked out, quit, puked. Started walking down the road and puked. And I got a check for 3 hours.
My first job was working for my mom in her office, sorting letters and cleaning it. And that's been my only job so far.
The greatest pleasure of my job was a sense of personal accomplishment and growth.
When I tear something down like an engine and put it back together and get it running, it makes me feel good to see that it's fixed and running real good. You get instant gratification
Because if you design a poster or a banner or any kind of printing thing, you can see it instantly.
See a new colt born or a new calf born or a corn crop come up and have a pretty stand.
Seeing people recover from a bad illness or a bad accident.
To see people reach their potential after they were stabilized on medication or help to stop using alcohol and drugs.
Children and your own kids look up to you and put you on a pedestal for being a fire chief or in the fire department. That's very rewarding and also a responsibility.
Dealing with students from a rural background that really appreciated what you had to teach them.
Former students telling me that they still use a lot of the things that they learned in my class.
Be able to work with them in the school setting and see them learn and grow and nourish.
Meeting them in later life and being aware of their successes.
I don't feel like I've done a good job unless I've been able to influence somebody else. I've been able to help somebody else.
The greatest satisfaction I got out of the career of law enforcement was helping my fellow men.
To work with people to help them realize their wishes and desires.
It allows me to make other people happy.
Just being able to help people and make money while you do it.
My greatest thing about my job was interacting with people.
One of the greatest pleasures and satisfaction in your work today is you do get to talk with people.
Being by myself.
Seeing people respond to the part of me and the part of my life that goes into my paintings.
I could know each one of the women by name. I knew what they were in there for, and I knew with interviews, what their capabilities were, and I tried to impress upon them that this was not the end of the world. This could be just a beginning, just a really good beginning.
And my greatest pleasure was I always found the error and showed it to them and made them so happy and made me very, very happy.
The money that I made out of it, I made good money back in the 70s and 80s.
Well, it's not money. It's hard to say about that, buddy. Hard to say, man. It kind of comes and goes, the satisfaction thing.
It's just when a patient says thank you.
It's hearing their family say that my job has been well done.
I'm not going to say we were the greatest generation. I think we were a good one, and I think we had a lot of other good ones. But I think that what we did for the country is very important.
And to be a part of something, to be a part of the greater good.
Being outside, and I love the outdoors, and like I say, I meet somebody new every day. And you're about to learn something every day from somebody.
That's just something I just love doing and something I've always done, so I don't know of anything else to do.
The hardest thing about my job is it's really greasy and dirty.
The most unpleasant thing would be working all night due to outage of some kind, due to ice storms, working day and night as long as you could go till you had to stop for a while. It was not very pleasant to do that, but still, it had to be done.
The hardest or most unpleasant thing about doing music is that we make absolutely no money. No money. We lose more money than we make.
Some of the kids had so much problem. I wanted to bring them home with me, but I knew that I couldn't.
To have to come down in the middle of a case when you knew people, you knew who they were, you went to church with them, you lived in a community with them.
Well, sometimes you have to report bad things, and sometimes it affects friends and family.
It was always disappointing to see one come back into the prison to serve more time.
Seeing people make destructive choices that harm themselves.
We go tell a family or what that they have lost a family member.
Some of the hardest things about the ministry is funerals,
doing funerals, especially children.
And you've been cutting their hair 20-something years, and then you have to start going to their home or the nursing home or the funeral home.
Only problems we always had was, is there going to be any money appropriated by the state of Alabama to run a good program next year?
Trying to have enough funds to operate a satisfactory program.
The hardest part, as I would presume in any government thing, is the politics that sometimes go with it.
Immediately, by being a political appointee, half of the people who are not of your particular political persuasion think that, you know, you're the devil personified.
The hardest thing about working is being a full-time mother and a wife and trying to do all of those duties as well as working.
People were saying, what do you do? What job do you have? And I said, well, I don't do anything for pay, but I work hard.
We worked at night a lot shooting deer for deer reproductive studies, and the hours were long, and you know, I got no pleasure out of shooting the deer.
We had to put down rights, and I guess the hardest thing that I was doing was I was against some of my own people, my own friends, people that were a little more extreme.
It's so much fun to hire people and to promote people, but then the other side is the downsizing or laying off people.
Was when occasionally you had to turn someone down for a loan who really needed the money.
Having to be there every day, regardless of how you feel or what else is going on in your life. It's a family business, and if we're not there, then it's not running.
I just didn't like getting up early.
With teaching, grading, hate to grade.
A lot of times when you clean up in a few minutes, it looked like you hadn't done anything.
Digging them tank lids up, using a shovel all day.
Hard to snort some pleasant. Probably going out and trying to sell stuff. These shows and things, galleries and all, it really sucks.
It's people that make life unpleasant. The work's all right, it's getting along with people.
My being a teacher is actually that's who I am. That signifies my personhood, I suppose.
It was the kind of work that I felt I had a calling for because I could identify. And it was the kind of work that really brought me more of a feeling of having a self-worth in life.
I got a sense of patriotism and, you know, the sense of serving my country.
I feel very strongly about the manufactured housing industry being affordable housing for the working people of this country.
I kind of like to solve problems. So clearly as a dental practitioner, I have lots of problems every day I get to solve.
And I've always been intrigued by figuring things out. You have something that doesn't work, why? Or you need a way to be able to do something, figure out how to do that thing.
That's something that I'd always wanted to do, was to work and help sick people like that.
My mother or my father would tell me, you know, to help people and be nice to them and do what you could. And so I think that gave me a better outlook on the job that I'm doing now, that to be more of a servant than more of someone that wants to be served.
I've always been a servant in life, and it gave me a good feeling to know that I made other people look pretty and feel good about themselves.
I was not in business because I loved being in business. I was in business to make money, and fortunately that's the way it worked out for me.
My purpose in life was to provide for my family in an honest and respectable way. My job as a mechanic has enabled me to do that.
I've just always tried to make a living
raised my kids the best I could.
It was quite a privilege to be a mother, and it's really a privilege to see them. It's exciting to see them as mature adults.
The purpose in my life is to try to be nice to other people and try to understand what other people are going through and be of help if I can or get out of their way.
It's a reflection of who I am on the inside and how I see the world.
It's like every part of my life is tied to my work and what I do. My life, my paintings are influenced by my life, but in some ways my life is influenced by my work also.
Purpose in life, Jesus. God help us. Purpose in life. You gotta be kidding me, man. Purpose.
I always wanted to be a cowboy from West Texas.
I think I would like to have been a tour guide.
I'd often wanted to be a comedian or the great movie star.
I always wanted to fly a jet plane.
I reckon I ought not to say it, but I pretty much went to school to play sports, and I just love sports, and I would have loved to have been a baseball player. I love baseball. I still love baseball.
Yeah, coaching baseball somewhere would be my dream job. I always wanted to be a coach.
My dream job is to become a mortician.
A fish boat captain, probably.
And I really wanted to be a fashion designer, but my grandmother reminded me that she knew of no black fashion designer.
I am a part-time amateur actor and would like to actually try my hand at that as a profession.
I guess my dream job is I got two wonderful girls and that's the most satisfying job I have is being a parent.
I'm doing it right now, being a good husband to my wife.
I pretty well made up my mind that whatever I was doing was the job that I was supposed to be doing and that it was going to be okay.
Every job looks better, but if you're satisfied in what you're doing, that's your dream job.
Not having one.
Whether it's good pay or little pay, it's your job at the time. You do the best you can at it. You treat it as if it was the best job you ever had.
You do a good job the first time, then people will come back.
Get up early and stay up late.
Stay at it. Don't have hours like from 8 to 4 o'clock. Just work all day long.
You know, really nobody truly gets ahead without hard work.
Honesty does pay, hard work pays, dedication to your job pays.
We have to just do what's right. We have to do the right thing, do it the right way.
The number one thing you judge people for when making a loan is character. Nothing else makes much difference.
Your word is your bond. So if you tell somebody something, you have to do it.
And just because somebody says you can't get it done, and I've been told that many times, doesn't mean it can't be done.
As long as you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
You can't save everybody, or that you can't win every battle.
That you can't make everybody happy.
Life is not real secure. I mean, you can be here one minute and gone the next.
People are people, and sometimes they are put in different, they're dealt different hands in life.
All people don't have the life that I had. Some of them had a very tough situation.
That nothing is fair. Life is not fair. But we're just a part of a whole.
I never really realized that there was such great people in this world. I never realized that there were such bad people in this world.
People do reap the consequences from choices that are made, whether they're good or bad choices.
Most people wanted to be fair. Most people wanted to do what was right. I also found out, though, that anybody who would tell a lie would swear to one.
being around people every day, good or bad, you still learn from them.
Most everybody's nice. Once in a while you'll find someone that might be hard to get along with, but you just have to have a little patience.
You had to be patient, you had to be tolerant, and you had to persevere.
To have friends, you've got to be friends.
One of life lessons that I've learned is how to, I guess, be that peacemaker.
People are capable of change if they are interested in doing so.
People who have challenges, even some that are really difficult challenges, when they're supported and helped to overcome those challenges, they want to have satisfaction in their lives, just like all of us do.
To try to stay in balance and not think I'm too smart, or maybe not to think I'm too dumb.
Life is a funny situation, but you must realize that it is not just yourself. You have to be able to get along with other people and to share.
Being happy is more important than having money or power or being well known.
Treat people the way you want to be treated, you try to be fair, and you give back to the community.
Sort of a faith walk, and that's the way life has been for me. So it's you just, have to have faith that things are going to change and get better.
In my work, there's always been males.
Fire service is a very heavily male-dominated profession.
Gender is a big disadvantage in my line of work because I run a hardware store, and generally people want to come in and talk to the man in the store.
There were 0 females in the wildlife program. There was probably 25 or 30 of us guys in the program, but there were no women at all in the program.
There's been several women through the years who have had success in the field of aviation, but it's generally renowned as a male-dominated field.
My being a male and being Caucasian has been an advantage to me.
Whether it's fair or not, both my gender and race have given me advantages.
I feel like that what I've done in work or what I've done has been because I've worked hard for it. I don't look at it as being that because I'm white or because I'm male.
As far as gender or race, that doesn't have anything to do with what you do in life. If you will just get out there and push, you can make a go.
I have seen the workplace be kind of difficult on a female. I didn't understand it. I was young and naive, and I just wanted to work and get things done, so I didn't even pay any attention to it. But it's definitely an issue.
For me, being a black female working in a predominantly white society, it have been somewhat of a disadvantage for me. In any time you're working in an area where the male dominate, and for a female it's oftentimes a disadvantage. But I've learned to even deal with that.
A lot of times they'll just think that I'm like somebody's girlfriend just hanging out, and then, when we actually play, they're like, oh, well, your boyfriend wrote some great songs and you just did a great job singing. And I'll be like, well, yeah, I actually wrote the songs.
I, at the time, was the only female warden in the state of Alabama, and that was very difficult. They tended to think that I didn't have enough sense to do what I was doing, or my suggestions were not anything that would be compatible to what needed to be done.
I questioned my boss about that, and why is he making more money than I'm making? And the answer I got was, well, he's a man.
It was a very racial place. I remember one day when I came to work, they had put a bag of black licorice on my desk. And right then I knew that this place is not where I was supposed to be.
when you get a reader come in and they look at you and see that you're black and they think you're probably not in charge or you don't know anything.
They underestimate your ability. They think you're stupid.
Being a female in law enforcement has had its ups and downs. I didn't use that as a crutch. I didn't, because when you get on the street, criminals don't care if you're male or female or black or white. All they see is that you are wearing a blue uniform.
Being the first female officer was a little challenging in the beginning, not knowing how it would be accepted. But I always tried to train hard and prepare mentally and physically for the job.
At the time I began, people still weren't taking women very seriously, but I think by sticking to it and not really paying much attention to what other people thought, just doing what I felt led to do, helped me overcome any kind of gender or racial advantage or disadvantage.
Most people expect a woodcarver to be a man, and unfortunately I fool them.
Well, there's some things I don't want to say, but I put it this way. For the last 20 years, both black and white have treated me real good.
Gender or race been an advantage? Well, I'm a white man in Alabama. What do you mean? I'm white.
Well, technology, I think, has changed how we all do things. The computer and the cell phone and all those things.
Computers, the filing, texting, faxing.
Email, Facebook, Twitter, PowerPoint, all of that has changed the way a ministry works.
I've had to learn Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and many other social media outlets.
Just tasers, digital audio, video recordings.
Lasers with dentistry and microscopes to do some of the work that was used to done, just with the naked eye.
New knowledge about genetics and the effects of genes on disease.
You can carry your office in your pocket and stay connected with the world.
It's almost required that you have a website or blogs and things to get your art out.
Everyone has a computer in the courtroom. The books are on disk or you get them online.
Everything is built in the computer and emailed to our printer.
The second a property is listed or sold, it's entered directly into a computer and we know about it.
Playing the organ, now there are digital computerized organs.
And so everything that we learned how to do in 3-dimension or 2-dimension on a flat piece of paper, we're now doing on the computer.
Computer will scan the log, figure out what will get the most money out of it, and saw the lumber that'll get you the most money out of it.
And they don't even inspect to check anymore by human eyes. Everything's automatic.
Everything is going from analog to digital. Everything is starting to become IP based.
All the fire direction centers and your artillery pieces and all of that is computer operated. It's kind of scary when you think that, what if the computers go down? Are you going to lose the war?
And now, my goodness, 90% of my day is dealt either directly or indirectly with using communication and computer skills.
The technology I use is very basic, and a blacksmith from 300 years ago could come into my shop and sort of know what was going on.
Technology has changed, but I still do it the old-fashioned way.
But it's a fun place, and we still do stuff like they did 100 years ago.
The new techniques and equipment are absolutely overwhelming. The sad part about changes over that same period of time have been the loss of personal contact and a personal relationship between the doctor and the patient.
it's a necessary evil. Without the technology, of course, we couldn't accomplish what we accomplish.
You can get an awful lot done. Sometimes you wonder whether or not being able to get more done is the best thing in the world, because it does tend to create a lot more stress and strain on you.
You'd come in and they, with about 10 things on the computer when you opened it up when you got home for you to do the next day.
Why we want such a fast-paced society? Why we want work to just, it to be done yesterday on everything?
Sometimes you can, the constant contact, the constant communication has actually caused problems in some cases. Certainly wouldn't do away with technology, but maybe gotten a little out of control.
We, of course, have to live with strenuous regulations in this day and age. And that has really put a strain on my career.
The teaching has been really taken away from the teacher, and this is sad. And they have to teach more to testing and things like that. And to me, I see that's not good for the student.
And back then, people trusted everybody, so they trusted James so that they would tell him where the keys to their house was. And you know, you can't do that today.
And then a lot of people would tell me, they'd say, Barbara, just write a check on me when my water and gas bill's due, just write a check on me. And I'd just write a check on them and sign their name to it.
When I first started work, labs to manufacture methamphetamine were unheard of in our city. And that has changed in the local area. Also, we were not as concerned as we are now with such horrendous crimes such as school shootings.
It just seems like the world keeps creating new things that they need the fire department to come rescue them from or deal with, like the terrorism and weapons of mass destruction and meth labs and things like that.
We had a drug room, and I knew each drug. At one time I helped purchase them, and I knew what company made them, what each drug was for. Now it's so difficult even for the doctors and nurses that work in it each day to do that.
There's a lot more sales involved now. You know, they want you to push checking accounts, they want you to push loans, they want you to push credit cards and things like that.
So the bean counters are the ones who make the decision. In my day, you loan money to people, to character, and then you made the numbers work. That no longer exist.
An increased desire by hospitals and other laboratories to get more work performed in the shortest amount of time for the lowest cost.
Expecting people to be smarter, to work harder, to work faster, to be more careful, and that has become more extreme as time goes on, where people are asked to do more and more.
And so we had to learn to you know, do more with less people, and that really did change a lot of my roles in the company.
I feel sorry for the women nowadays who feel so pressed to do everything, and they just don't have the time.
I just expect to somehow make a living, I guess. That's about it, really.
It was predicted at the time I came here that small towns were dying. We're never going to be like we were in the early 50s when the streets were so crowded on Saturday you could hardly move. But we can move into this new time in new ways, and we can change with it. I make a joke and call this Mayberry. It's not really because it's backwoods or anything. I think I call it Mayberry because people still know people, and people honestly still care.
So all in all, I would add up that when I think of my life going all the way back, I've had a good life. I've had a satisfactory life. The jobs I've done, I have basically enjoyed all of them.
And I learned to appreciate the little things in life, whether it be things that were involved in work that I did, or whether it was my family, or whether it was with people with whom I didn't identify.
It's come a long way. I just wonder what's going to happen in the next 50 years. But I know I won't be around to see it.
I still know
my first job. I mean, I hope that one day I can be the doctor again.
No matter what job you have, if you're there for, 5 days or, 50 years, if you don't continue to push yourself to be better, then it's not gonna matter what job you have. It's gonna be pretty unhappy, whatever it is.
I think if you follow your heart, you do what you love, or you're fortunate enough to do what you love, the old saying, you'll never really work.
And if you really enjoy doing it, that's what you need to do.
But if you don't like what you're doing, you need to find another job, in my opinion.
Troy Criswell. CRISSWELL. Yeah. TroyCriswell.com. TroyCriswell.com. Right here. Y'all buy something, huh? If you're rich, I need the money. Is it gone now? Is it over?
Whenever you're finished.
Oh, you're still running?
Yeah, it's still running. You can keep talking.
Oh, well.
You got
No, man, I got nothing to say.
Okay.
What you want me to do? All right. See you later. See you later, Jack.